Welcome to the Faroes News Report for Wednesday, November 12, 2025.
We've gathered reports, political statements, and data points from across the islands to bring you fully up to speed.
Today, we'll be covering several key areas. First, the news segments.
We'll look at the Faroe Islands population changes from October 2024 to 2025.
Then, comments from Hannes Hansen regarding cooperation with Russia.
And a quick look at a new political party in Belgium called Trump,
After the news, we'll move into some opinion and analysis pieces.
including the Suðuroy controversy, framed as "Democracy Dies in Darkness,"
The government reorganization, seen by some as a political comedy.
a piece questioning what the National Bank might have forgotten.
Concerns about Faroes college rights in Copenhagen.
And finally, a look at the shadow of Danish in Faroe society.
Okay, let's start with those population figures. What's the overall picture?
Well, between October 2024 and October 2025, the total population did grow. It went from 54,541 up to 54,858.
So that's an increase of 317 people.
Exactly. Which works out to about 0.6% growth. Sounds okay on the surface.
But I guess the growth isn't evenly spread.
Not at all. That's the key takeaway here. You see most of the growth concentrated in just a few areas.
Like Tórshavn, I imagine.
Tórshavnar Kommuna saw the biggest jump, plus 196 people. Then you have Klaksvíkur Kommuna adding 36.
Okay.
And Nes Kommuna and Sørvágs Kommuna both grew by 41 people each, so heavily skewed towards those larger municipalities.
Right, and what about the other side? Any significant decreases?
There were. Faroe Kommuna, for instance, dropped by 30 people, which is a 1.7% decrease for them.
That's quite a percentage drop.
It is. And Vaga Kommuna also saw a decrease of 29 people, or about 1.3%. It highlights that rural drain we often talk about.
And drilling down even further, the village level and any standouts there.
Oh, absolutely. The percentages get wild when the numbers are small. Saradolur on Kalsoy, for example, saw a 50% increase.
50%, but what are the actual numbers?
Well, it went from 6 people up to 9. So 3 individuals make a huge percentage difference.
Okay, that makes sense. Still significant for a tiny place.
And Storademon went up by 25%, from 4 people to 5.
Tiny shifts making big waves locally. What about villages shrinking?
You see big percentage drops there, too. Akrar saw a decrease of 26.7%.
Wow.
Svínair dropped by 19.6%, and Morscreens by 16.7%. It really shows the fragility of some of these smaller communities.
Definitely paints a picture of centralization, doesn't it?
It really does.
Okay, let's shift now to the fishing industry and the Russia situation. There's been some strong reaction to a proposal about sanctions.
Yes, Hannes Hansen has been quite vocal. He's reacting to a parliamentary proposal for measures against Russian shipping companies.
And he's against it.
Very much so. He's basically hoping Parliament doesn't approve it. He feels it sends a, quote, bad signal to Russia.
A bad signal with consequences, presumably.
Serious consequences is how he put it, for the Faroes fishing industry specifically.
Like what? What's he worried about?
2 main things, it seems. First, the potential loss of basically all trade with Russia. We're talking large-scale herring and mackerel sales. That's huge.
That would be a massive blow.
And second, possibly even more concerning long-term, is the risk of losing about 30% of the catch quota that the Faroes traditionally fish in the Barents Sea.
30%, that's structural, isn't it? It's not just about one-year sales.
Exactly. It's tied to those long-standing agreements. And Hansen made an interesting observation from a recent trip to Tokyo to the Groundfish Forum.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
He mentioned a Norwegian lawyer presented data showing that, get this, the EU and the UK actually imported about 30% more Russian groundfish in the first half of 2023 compared to 2022.
Wait, so while the EU is pushing the Faroes towards sanctions?
They themselves increased their imports of Russian fish. That's what the data apparently showed, according to Hansen's account. It highlights a certain perceived hypocrisy.
I can see why that would frustrate the Faroes industry. What about the Russian reaction? Any indication?
Well, Hansen relayed the concern that if Faroe sanctions go ahead, Russia might just decide to fish more aggressively and, abandon the old agreements altogether.
Which could lead to...
Could lead to Faroes companies having to sell off new ships, job losses, the whole chain reaction.
Sounds pretty high stakes. Is there any positive outlook?
He did express some hope. Hansen apparently expects Norway and Russia to reach an agreement on the Barents Sea cod stock within the next 2 or 3 weeks.
So maybe some stability on that front soon?
Potentially, yes. But the underlying tension around sanctions remains.
Okay, now for something completely different but still political, a new party in Belgium.
Yes, just a quick one. A new right-wing populist party is set to appear on the ballot there, and it's called Trump.
Seriously, just Trump.
Well, it's actually an acronym, TRUMP. It stands for Tout réuni pour l'Union des mouvements populistes.
Ah, all united for the union of populist movements. Makes a bit more sense.
Sort of. The founder, Salvatore Nicotra, was quite explicit, though. He said Donald Trump is the, quote, image of populism, and the name makes it clear what they stand for.
So, leaning into the name recognition, then.
Seems like it. Pure branding.
Right, let's move back to domestic Faroese issues, and this is a big one. The Suðuroy or Tenalin controversy. There's an opinion piece framing it as democracy dies in darkness.
Yes, this is from Liljan Wei, and the central argument is pretty stark. It claims that major decisions about this huge tunnel project are essentially being made behind closed doors.
How so?
The decisions are happening within PF Suðuroy or Tenalin, which is a public limited company, not a standard government department.
PF Public Limited Company. And
Yeah.
the argument is that this structure lacks transparency.
Exactly. The piece argues that operating within a PF structure means normal administrative law and public insight requirements. Well, they don't really apply in the same way. Things get hidden.
And the author has personal experience with this.
She does. She recounts an incident last October. Apparently, she was given less than 4 hours to approve a political consensus on the tunnel route.
4 hours.
Yeah, and crucially, without seeing the relevant documents or having time to discuss the actual routing. She objected, and the signing was postponed, but it shows the kind of pressure applied.
That sounds like a way to bypass scrutiny.
And it seems that pattern continued. The routing was sent back for more study, but then, a few months later, same story. Lichting members apparently received several hundred pages of material late one Monday evening.
Hundreds of pages.
At 5:53 p.m., according to the article. And then they were pressured to give their final agreement on the preferred route by that Friday.
It's just impossible. You can't properly review that much information in that time frame.
The author calls it information overload, which, can be just as effective as secrecy in preventing real scrutiny or debate.
And what happens when people do raise questions or concerns?
This is maybe the most worrying part. The piece claims the response isn't reasoned counter-arguments, it's attacks. Yeah, personal attacks. Accusations. Apparently, people asking questions, experts, journalists, even political colleagues, have literally been yelled at, quote, "You're fake news."
Wow. Shouting down dissent instead of engaging with it.
It suggests a real unwillingness to face scrutiny. And apparently, errors have now been found in the decision memo for the project. So the whole consensus, the semjon, is sort of staggering, as the article puts it. Riddler.
Which kind of justifies the calls for more openness, doesn't it?
It certainly strengthens that argument, yes.
This theme of questionable government process seems to continue with the next piece, on the reorganization, dubbed a political comedy.
Right. This critique comes from Anfinn Brekstein. It's about the Nýskaparnefndin, the new reorganization committee.
And their recommendation was to reduce the number of ministries?
Yeah, to fix the number at 6 ministries, plus the Prime Minister's office. The stated goal was to create stability, efficiency.
And save money, right. I remember seeing figures mentioned.
Exactly. They claimed it would save the cost of 3 ministers, 3 permanent secretaries, and cut down on duplicated functions. The estimate was savings of around 15%, or 20 million DKK a year.
Sounds good on paper. So what's the critique?
Brekstein calls the whole thing a political comedy. He argues it's ill-prepared, lacks vision, and it's basically creating chaos instead of efficiency.
Okay, but what about the savings? Is that part question?
Oh, absolutely. That's the core of his financial critique. He says the public is being misled about the savings.
Oh, so?
Because while, yes, 3 ministers are dismissed, all the civil servants working under them are apparently just being transferred to the remaining 6 ministries.
So no one's actually losing their job in the administration.
That's the claim. No one is being fired. And Brekstein does the math. He says the actual cost saving from losing 3 ministers is only about 2 million DKK.
Okay, 2 million, but they promised 20 million in savings.
Precisely. So where's the other 18 million DKK coming from? That amount, he calculates, is equivalent to the salaries of about 36 to 40 employees.
But if no employees are being dismissed?
Then where are those savings? That's his point.
Yeah.
He argues the public isn't getting the truth, and it's more about political appearance than actual fiscal responsibility.
Interesting. It ties back to that theme of transparency and perhaps performance over substance.
It does seem to connect, yes.
Let's shift focus now, looking outwards at the relationship with Denmark, starting with the economy and a national bank assessment.
Right. Landsbanken, the national bank, confirmed Moody's positive rating of the Faroese economy. So that's good news.
But there was a but, wasn't there? A warning.
Yes, a significant one. Landsbanken warned about the dangers of running deficits during prosperous times. It's called pro-cyclical fiscal policy.
Pro-cyclical, meaning spending more when the economy is already doing well.
Exactly. It feels good at the time, maybe politically popular, but it means you're not saving for a rainy day. You're amplifying the boom, which can make the eventual bust worse.
And Landsbanken saw this as a threat to the Moody's rating.
They explicitly cited growing debt or running government deficits for multiple years as things that could jeopardize that positive rating. Yeah. Basic fiscal prudence warnings.
Okay, but there's an opinion piece by Barents Nielsen arguing Landsbanken left something crucial out.
That's right. Nielsen claims Landsbanken conveniently forgot to mention a specific warning directly from Moody's.
Which was?
Moody's apparently stated, quote, "A weakening in the relationship with Denmark could also have negative rating implications."
And that's highly relevant because...
As Nielsen points out, there are currently 5 political parties actively working towards leaving the Commonwealth towards independence.
So Moody's is saying the political relationship itself is a factor in the economic rating, and Landsbanken didn't highlight that.
According to Nielsen, yes. It adds a whole other layer of risk, doesn't it? The financial stability isn't just about domestic budgets, it's tied to the political future with Denmark. Pushing for independence could itself trigger a downgrade.
That's a major political calculation then, balancing independence ambitions with potential economic fallout.
A very tricky balance. And this complex relationship plays out on a social level, too, which brings us to the concerns about Faroese students in Copenhagen.
Right. This involves a proposal about college housing access.
Yes. A Copenhagen mayoral candidate, Pernille Rosenkrantz-Theil, proposed changing the rules for student housing admissions.
What are the current rules?
Currently, young people who live furthest away from Copenhagen, and this explicitly includes Faroes and Greenlanders, get priority access to student housing. There are about 11,400 units, and it's a crucial support for them.
Makes sense. They have nowhere else to live easily when they arrive. What's the proposed change?
The candidate wants to put young people who grew up near Copenhagen on an equal footing for those places, essentially remove the geographical priority.
And the argument is that this would effectively disadvantage Faroese students.
That's the fear, yeah. Johannes Mieskaara writes that given the high demand for housing, this change would pretty much eliminate the already limited priority Faroese students have. It would make their start in Denmark much harder.
It does raise questions about how valued they are within the Commonwealth if practical supports like that are potentially removed.
It certainly fuels that kind of debate, and it leads into the final piece we looked at, discussing the cultural side of the Danish relationship, what's termed the shadow of Danish.
This is based on the experience of a German biologist living in the Faroes.
Yes, Agnes Katharina Kreiling. She moved there, learned Faroese, really committed to integrating. But she describes the constant pervasive presence of the Danish language as feeling like a, quote, slap in the face.
How so? What does she mean?
She points to things like film subtitles always being in Danish, doctors often speaking Danish first, even if you speak Faroese, official letters sometimes needing translation from Danish. It sends a message that Danish is the default, the real language of importance, even for immigrants trying hard to learn Faroese.
That sounds incredibly frustrating for someone who's made the effort to learn the local language.
And she observes the social dynamic, too. She feels Danish speakers are often allowed to skip learning Faroese. They don't face the same expectation.
Creating a kind of hierarchy.
She calls it a hierarchy, yeah, where Danes are almost like first-class foreigners who don't need to assimilate linguistically in the same way others do.
Does she give examples of how this plays out day to day?
She does. She talks about being in a group conversation happening in Faroese, and then one Danish speaker enters the room, and suddenly everyone switches to Danish.
Making her instantly excluded.
Exactly. She says it makes her feel invisible, and it's really demotivating for her continued efforts with Faroese.
That's a powerful personal account.
It really highlights the subtle, and sometimes not so subtle, ways language dominance can affect social inclusion. And the commentary notes an institutional example, too. Apparently, even though the Faroe Islands currently hold the chairmanship of the Nordic cooperation, the organization's own website doesn't offer a functional Faroese language option for its daily news updates.
Seriously, while they hold the chair?
Uh-huh. It's seen as another instance where Faroese, despite its official status, takes a backseat to Danish or other Scandinavian languages, even in forums where you'd expect parity.
So wrapping up today, it seems we've seen interconnected tensions, internal struggles over transparency and governance,
Right, with the tunnel project and the government reorganization raising serious questions about accountability and whether things are being done openly and effectively.
and externally, this constant, complex negotiation with Denmark impacting everything from economic ratings and fishing rights to student housing and even daily social interactions.
It's that push and pull, seeking greater autonomy while navigating deep-seated dependencies, both economic and cultural.
It really leaves you wondering about the path forward, doesn't it? Especially if internal governance faces criticism for lacking openness, while external pressures related to the Danish relationship continue to mount.
It's a complex picture with no easy answers. We hope this overview of today's reports and viewpoints helps you stay informed.
Like and subscribe to PalsFundamentals for more content like this, sources linked below.